Okay, Marilyn, like picture this, right? It's April 2026. Your retirement account is looking pretty green, doing well. The headlines are all saying energy markets are stabilizing. Everything's priced in. Conflicts resolved. Frameworks holding. Sounds great, right?
Sounds idyllic, Marcus. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but here's the kicker. That same week, you're at the gas station and you're paying like $4.30 a gallon. Why? Because Brent crude hit $119 a barrel last month when the Strait of Hormuz went dark and 20% of the world's oil supply just stopped. Both those things are true, simultaneously. And the question for us today is, why? Why are both these realities happening at the exact same time? And what does it tell us about every other gap we've been told not to worry about?
Exactly. And by the end of this conversation, I really want our listeners to be able to do one thing. Look at any institutional announcement, any active monitoring, any structural resilience, any modernization initiative, and clearly, decisively tell the difference between that institution actually doing its job and it just, performing the appearance of doing its job. Because that distinction, it's worth money, it's worth time. And right now, it might honestly be the difference between holding a position or totally exiting.
Wow. So this gap between what institutions announce and what markets actually price, it's not just a lag anymore, is it? It's a fundamental structural feature. We're going to map out how it works today, where it's widest, and what we can actually do with that information.
So where do we even begin with this, Marilyn? Like what's actually measurable here? Because it feels like there are two prices running simultaneously on almost everything that truly matters right now.
There absolutely are, Marcus. You have the public price, that's what's officially stated, what you see in the headlines, and then there's the private price, which is what the actual structural conditions are showing, what the market's really pricing. The source material we're looking at calls it the public-private price distinction, and it's not, a metaphor, it's a literal measurement. And that gap, that difference between those two numbers, right now has a clear direction and about a 6-month horizon.
6 months, wow. But I want to stop you right there on the framing, because public and private almost makes it sound like someone's just flat out lying,
Well, here's the thing. Most of the people producing that official narrative, they're actually not lying. They're just reading instruments that are calibrated to the wrong moment. Think of it like this. You've got a weather station in your backyard, but it's only hooked up to record readings from 6 months ago and report them today. The people inside the building look at the readout and it says mild and sunny. Meanwhile, outside, crude oil futures are actually pricing a demand shock that hasn't even hit the official inflation ledger yet. It's a system that's inherently behind.
And this is verifiable, right? Like the EIA's own April forecast, just released this week, projects Brent peaking at $115 a barrel in Q2, diesel above $5.80 a gallon in April. That's not some tail risk, is it? That's a central forecast from the agency responsible for the official energy narrative.
Totally. The private price and the public price are converging on paper, which means the institutions are catching up. But the key phrase there is catching up. They are behind. And being behind when the instruments are moving this fast is a completely different animal than being behind in, say, a really stable environment. The speed here, Marcus, it matters enormously. Okay, so here's what the data isn't saying out loud, but is absolutely implying. The energy shock and the AI governance failure, they are not two separate stories. They are the exact same story, just running in two totally different domains. And the mechanism linking them is the one thing the official analysis refuses to name directly. Institutions are optimizing for the appearance of control, rather than, the actual function of it.
Whoa, that's pretty wild. Can you walk me through the AIP specifically? Because the numbers you've mentioned there, they're really striking.
Absolutely. So the SEC's 2026 examination priorities, published just months ago, reveal that AI and cybersecurity risk have now displaced crypto as the dominant systemic concern. That's the first meaningful institutional acknowledgement that AI-driven market behavior is a Category 1 risk. But here's what's super interesting. That acknowledgement came after the risks were already operationally active, not before. And get this, the FCA, the UK's financial regulator, confirmed just this past December that it won't introduce AI-specific rules because the technology evolves too fast. Their phrase was every 3 to 6 months. So the official position is we can't regulate it fast enough, so we'll just apply existing frameworks and monitor. That, Marcus, is an institution announcing it has chosen the megaphone over the actual gears.
The megaphone over the gears. Wow. So what's the forward projection on that choice? Like 5 years out, what does applying existing frameworks to a non-linear technology actually produce? That can't be good.
It produces the regulatory equivalent of a geological fault line. The stress just accumulates invisibly because the surface holds. Existing fraud statutes, conduct rules, anti-discrimination frameworks, they can absorb a lot of AI-related harm without technically breaking. But they cannot prevent the correlated behavior that happens when hundreds of institutions are running similar AI models that all misfire in the same direction at the same moment. That's not a fraud problem, Marcus. That is a systemic architecture problem, and there's currently no operational framework anywhere in the world that addresses it.
So you've got the energy domain, right, where a physical choke point, the Strait of Hormuz, has basically removed 20% of global daily supply, and it's driving prices toward a Q2 peak that institutions were just not positioned for. And then you have this AI governance domain, where the regulatory apparatus is openly admitting it can't write rules fast enough. What happens when those two systems interact? When AI-accelerated trading instruments are pricing an energy shock that the regulatory framework wasn't designed to contain?
Oh, Marcus, that is the specific intersection the source material identifies as the live danger zone. And there's a detail in the energy futures data that makes this super concrete right now. The oil futures curve, it's currently in what traders call backwardation. So near-term contracts are pricing at a premium over longer-dated ones. Analysts are explicitly saying the market might be underpricing the reconstruction timeline. Even if the Strait of Hormuz reopens, the physical infrastructure that was damaged during the conflict takes time to, come back online. That gap between the market's resolution assumption and the physical reality of damaged infrastructure, that is a machine-readable arbitrage opportunity. AI trading systems will find it and act on it before any human compliance officer even reviews the position. It's happening.
Wow. So the machines are going to exploit that gap before any human can even blink. That's terrifying, honestly. But I want to push on something you mentioned earlier, actually, about this framework we've been building. That institutions optimize for the appearance of control, defer the work, and eventually the gap becomes undeniable, forcing a correction.
Yeah, I think that's got a crack in it, Marcus, because that's a clean, compelling story, right? But it totally assumes that the correction actually happens, that reality truly overrides the institutional signal eventually.
And your challenges?
My challenge is, we've seen multiple cases in the last decade where the gap became publicly undeniable, and the institution didn't actually correct. It just performed correction. It issued the megaphone version of correction. I mean, the 2008 financial crisis didn't produce a fundamentally reformed financial architecture, did it? It produced a set of regulatory frameworks, Dodd-Frank, Basel III, that were calibrated to prevent the last crisis, not the next one. And then they were progressively loosened before the ink was even fully dry. So this model of reality eventually forces genuine correction might actually be empirically wrong. What reality may actually force is just a more sophisticated performance of correction.
That is a serious, serious challenge, Marilyn. Let me steel man the framework's response here for a second. The difference between 2008 and the current environment, it's the feedback latency. In 2008, the harm was concentrated, right? It hit financial institutions and mortgage holders, and everyone else experienced it as a slow, kind of diffuse decline. The institutional signal could sustain itself because the gap didn't close violently for most people all at once.
Right, I get that.
What's different now is the simultaneity. The energy shock is hitting at the pump this week, not in some quarterly report 6 months from now. And an AI governance failure, if it produces a market event, will be experienced in real time, not mediated through some institutional summary. When the gap closes that fast, the performance of correction is just way harder to sustain because there's not enough time to prepare the megaphone before the building is, visibly on fire.
That's a meaningful distinction, Marcus. The speed of the feedback loop definitely changes the analysis, I'll grant you that. But I want to add a complication. Even if the correction is genuine, the system emerges from it with reduced capacity. The source material makes this point, and I think it's underweighted. It's not just that the delayed correction is larger,
It's that the institutional infrastructure that has to manage the correction has been spending its capacity on sustaining the signal, rather than, building the actual function. So you hit the crisis with a depleted repair crew, like the subway roof collapses and you've been using the maintenance budget to just paint the stations.
Which means the actionable insight here isn't wait for the institutions to correct, is it? The actionable insight is about positioning relative to an institution that will correct late and with less capacity than the problem actually demands.
That's exactly right, Marcus. And the Colorado AI Act going live on June 30th, the first substantive state-level AI framework for high-risk financial applications, that's a really useful timestamp. Before that date, there's a specific window where the gap between AI-driven market risk and the operational framework designed to contain it is at its maximum width. It's a critical moment.
Okay, so to synthesize this, here is what this episode really produced, stated as precisely as I can. The gap between what institutions announce and what structural conditions actually show, it's not an accident, it's not a lag, and it's definitely not some temporary deviation. It's the direct output of an incentive structure that consistently rewards the appearance of control over the function of it. Right now, that gap has two live expressions: an energy market where a physical shock is driving prices the official narrative wasn't positioned for, and an AI governance architecture that has openly acknowledged it cannot write rules as fast as the tech moves.
And the practical move, the thing a person can actually do, is to stop calibrating expectations to institutional announcements and start calibrating them to structural conditions. The public price is what they say. The private price is what the market is actually pricing. The gap between those two numbers, Marcus, that is information. Price it in.
Price it in. I love that. And here's what's going to stay with me from this conversation. It's not just institutions optimizing for the appearance of control. Most of us do it too, don't we? We hold positions we should have exited because exiting would require acknowledging that the signal we trusted was wrong. We wait for the official announcement before updating our picture of what's happening because updating before the announcement feels like overreaction.
Totally. The entire dynamic we've been describing is fractal. It runs at the institutional level, it runs at the individual level, and the mechanism, it's identical. The cost of acknowledging the gap is always immediate. The cost of not acknowledging it is always deferred, until it isn't. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The AI frameworks are running 3 years behind the technology. The gap is the data. What you do with it